It's no secret that Sulfur is a very difficult game. The developers, Perfect Random, pride themselves in how challenging the game can really be. They said that everyone should try to nominate it for the best game you suck at for the Steam Awards. I'm not sure where they ended up with that. I don't know how any of that worked. Did we ever get the Steam Awards? I wasn't paying attention. I stopped paying attention when not everyone was voting for Sulfur in every single category like me. If you did that, you're a real one, but you're also insane. And I'm gonna put that out there. I'm insane. So yeah, I did put Sulfur in every single category. Category, my goodness, sorry. Didn't get a lot of sleep last night, but today I wanted to talk about the difficulty of Sulfur. I want to talk about the increasing difficulty of Sulfur, because as time has gone on, as we've received more patches, it seems that difficulty has gone up a bit with things like enemy density. I noticed it. You may have noticed it. Sewers and other places, sometimes town, can be very annoying to play through and almost seem like you're forced to amulet teleport back to church just to survive and keep your stuff because of how dense the amount of mobs can be. Now, I haven't gone in and done a science behind it, like gone into dev mode and counted every single enemy that can be in one area. They all spawn up, they can move quickly and end up being in a giant group and ambush you, but I've noticed it personally, and I've heard a lot of people rumbling that they don't like it. I haven't heard anybody say that they like it, but I assume if you don't say anything about not liking it, you probably do like the enemy density, or you don't mind it. I don't know if I don't like hate it, or yeah, I don't hate the enemy density. I just think it dramatically changes the way Sulfur feels. Well, maybe not dramatically. I'm being dramatic when I say it dramatically changes it, but it does change the way the game feels a little bit. I noticed right away it was harder for me to use meme weapons while out on runs. I have to use kind of like more meta stuff because you never know when you're going to get ambushed. And if you're like me, if I'm doing a run, I don't like to teleport back if I'm with like fully kitted and everything. That sounds weird, but I'm at the point where I feel strong enough and smart enough in game to where I shouldn't have to teleport back. But I did notice they never mentioned they were changing any of the amount of enemies. They mentioned they nerfed the dogs by fixing them. They've talked about nerfing them again. The dogs is a whole other can of worms. Some people straight up hate the game so much they won't play it because the dogs exist. And I know this must be a very confusing, right flying at you video, but that's because, like I said, I'm dealing with some more sleep deprivation. Yippee. And also, I just chugged some energy drink, so I'm feeling it right now, and I just wanted to go on a loose little rant about difficulty and maybe changes to difficulty that they could do in the future, and things that you think might be a good idea, things that I think could work. I would like to hear from you in any of these videos when we have discussions. This is an open-ended discussion. I'm not actually playing right now. That's gameplay I took. I'm not that good to be able to play like this, but there's a couple of things they could do. I, for one, did not know if Dark Souls had a difficulty, like, option. I know Dark Souls and Sulfur are not the best comparison, but they're both two notoriously hard games. Well, you know, notorious to those in the community. So I wanted to see if it had a difficulty setting. It does not, which I think is interesting. I kind of see where they're coming from. You shouldn't have to play the game if it's too hard. Doesn't make it a bad game. It just means it's not a game for you. But when you add in difficulty settings, you could make it a little bit more inclusive. And I'm not trying to push for difficulty settings. I'm fine with where it's at now. I just think there's some areas and some procedurally generated rooms in certain levels that can be very frustrating. They can be frustrating. I'm not gonna lie. Like, I was doing a lot of speed running. I was really enjoying speed running, and then the patch came out that increased the enemy density. And before that patch, I was able to speed run the game in 12, 13 minutes, no problem. But then after it, I'll be playing sewers or something and just 5 times in a row get hammered. It's usually sewers, to be honest. That's usually where it happens. I'll get hammered by like 30, 40 people in one room, and I'm not making that number up. And when you're speed running, 30 or 40 people means at least 5 or 6 of them are going to be clogging up a doorway. And the second you enter that room, they stop fighting each other. If it's the humans versus the glob garbage people, they're going to start shooting you, and then your speed run is essentially kaput. So I was working on a speedrunning video. I am no longer working on that video for the time being. I'm not sitting here pounding the table saying, change this shit now before you see another speedrun out of me. I'm just saying I wasn't enjoying it as much because of the stoppages from things that were less about my skill and memorization. Because to me, speedrunning in Sulfur, you're not really trying to kill anything. You're trying to memorize what a different room can have in it. Because they're all procedurally generated. You don't know where the door's going to be. But a lot of it comes down to, oh, this room, the door can spawn up here, or it will spawn down here. And then when you add in these, like, massive mobs and everything, it makes it so, like, I trying to do a normal run, a normal speed run, which is not a normal run. And then it's just, like, some unprecedented thing that doesn't look right. I don't think it looks right, necessarily. It almost seems like there's too many people. In the other levels, town, caves, dungeon has kind of always had a lot of mobs in it, so I'm used to that, and you can move around them because there's open areas, especially in those rooms that have no floor where you can jump around. You can actually move around that mob density and a little safer. Sewers is not an option for that. It's very claustrophobic. I would say that's the only area in the game that I just think doesn't play well with this level of mob density. I don't think it plays well at all. Like, to be totally honest, it feels like they could either spread those spawns out a bit or lower them in sewers. Just to me, I don't know. I don't want to take a stand anywhere, because if you do play the game normally, you bring in what would be meta weapons. And if we talked about what would be meta, it's going to be different for everybody. But to me, a meta gun would be an automatic gun, especially an assault rifle, or like an Augusta. An Augusta you can use in any area of the game and just steamroll the whole game. That gun is amazing, especially if you make it infinite ammo. You can just do whatever you want with the Augusta. It's super good. It's got higher durability than it should, and those energy rounds, they hit really hard. I mean, the durability is not the best part of the Augusta, but have you tried making infinite ammo? Because it's stupid. It's like stupid good. So those things, those are the guns I think you would have to bring in to guarantee your safety and not having to amulet charge out. And granted, you could make the case that there is an amulet charge, so just amulet charge out and then not have to worry about it. This is such a scatterbrained video. I feel like I snorted a line of G Fuel before I came in here. I didn't. I just dry scooped it. I did write down a few notes because like my sleep has been crazy. I've been sleeping on the floor with the baby, which is like not good for my back, but we have to wait till his bed comes in, so that's where I've been sleeping, and it's just like, ugh. Like, the sleep has been okay because I'm so friggin' sleep deprived that I'm like in a deep sleep, but then when he wakes up, and then I'm like, okay, I got 4 hours, but like I realize my body gets a little bit of energy and it goes, hey, you're really uncomfortable, so don't go back to sleep. You know what I mean? And it's just like, probably another week until we get his bed in and we can move back into our bedroom. It's been, having a baby's crazy, man. Let me see. Actually, I think I went over all this. Oh, yeah, so if we wanted to, there's like 5 notes. It's nothing crazy. There's 4 notes. I was like, for the longest time, I didn't want to do this video because I didn't know exactly how you should talk about difficulty in Sulfur or in any game, and exactly what we should talk about, but I do think it is a point of contention for a lot of people. A lot of people love the game. I've seen people that are saying they adamantly just like hate the game right now because the mob, I've seen a couple people say that. The mob density has made it so they hate the game. Now that's not good. That's nothing you ever look for. The dogs have always had that issue, and they've made some jokes on the Discord saying that they were going to nerf the dogs. I've seen a couple of them make that joke. And I don't want them to nerf the dogs. I think the dogs are comically hard to kill for a lot of people, and they were for me for a long time, and sometimes they get the better of me still. And I think that's awesome. I think dogs are like the final endgame boss, and if we keep the meme going, at some point they could make like way after the main storyline, if they want to add a new area, they can have like a dog boss, like a gigantic dog boss that you have to kill, just for the meme. That would be like, it could like leap around really high like the dogs do now, and it would just do stupid damage. It would be like a raid boss. Hey, that's what, you know, if they ever get the multiplayer, which we should at some point, that's something they could do, is like raids. That would be actually really cool in Sulfur. It would be dangerous, but it would be dope. But I want to see more than just raids. We've talked about the multiplayer before. I'm not going to get too far into that, but changing the difficulty of Sulfur. Actually, multiplayer brings a good point to that. If there were to add difficulty options, which is the first thing that came to my mind when someone was saying it was getting too hard, and a lot of people have left bad Steam reviews saying it's too hard. Like, that's a you problem. I've never thought the game was too hard. I just think sometimes it could be annoying. Just sewers. Really, it's just sewers for me. Sewers gets too congested, and it's like not fun to fight in sometimes. It's not every time I go into sewers, but like 1 out of 3 times I go in there, there's like a 50% chance that a room's going to be clogged up to the point where I'm like, either I die or I'm looking around, I'm like, what the hell was that? Like, the last, like, 5 playthroughs I've done on this channel with the newest patch, you could see me go through sewers and sometimes town and be like, that was absurd. I remember the live stream we did when the performance patch came out. There was a section in there where we went through town. And I remember because chat was even saying, like, whoa, that was, like, that was crazy. Because the amount of enemies that were in one area of town was, like, 50 or 60. Just one stretch. The fact I had any ammo left over at the end of it is a miracle. But if they were to add difficulty options, I think that would actually be cool, and it would give them an opportunity. I'm kind of in favor of adding difficulty options. I don't want to, like, stick my nose up and be like, if it's too hard for you, then go play Marvel Rivals and be Iron Fist. Like, I'm not going to do that, all right? And I don't have problems with Iron Fist and Marvel Rivals anymore. I figured out how to play around them, all right? I just didn't know what else to use there. So, Marvel Rivals, man, everybody's playing. It's really good. It is fun. I was a huge Overwatch fan, even bigger Battleborn fan, but there's only 12 other people that know what that is. But I loved Overwatch 1. Overwatch 2 was a huge letdown, but Marvel Rivals is fun. It's not as good as Overwatch 1. How do you relive that? And it's nowhere near as good as Battleborn, but it is fun. I only get to play like an hour a day. So if they were to implement difficulty options, I think they could do it in a way that, for one, they're not saying, like, and I don't know if they've even ever thought of this, if it's even possible, if it's something they don't ever want to go near. I'm talking perfect random, the developers of Sulfur. You could add in an easy option, a normal option, which right now, what it is set to, I would consider to be normal, teetering on hard in some areas, but that's just procedural generation. You're just getting RNG'd on that time. Like, it's definitely, it feels normal. Like, if I was to just take a Fisk or a Typhoon, make it moderately good, I can run through the entire game 50 times and have no issues because I've got a really good gun. But if I was to take a Bronco or even a Nop and make it decently good or even OP, there's some areas where there's just going to be so many enemies that there's nothing I could do. Of course, you can just bring any OP thing you want. But I think what draws people in after they beat Sulfur is the gun building and the creativity you can get from that, and the weird and wonky and wacky you can do there. Now, granted, everything that you can use to build a gun, maybe not everything, but most things are designed around becoming more powerful, because it is a roguelite. At the end of the day, becoming more powerful is the main goal of a roguelite or a roguelike. That is it's the power fantasy. You're playing the game because you want to take revenge on all the things that were murking you at one point, and then you keep getting stronger and stronger, you keep going back in, and then it just, if it's fun to play, which it is, that's the key component to a good roguelite, is make it fun to play. Sulfur's engine is amazing, it plays really well, there's no complaints there. But it just, there's a lot of creativity they could do outside of it too. Like, Charm is kind of OP because if it doesn't kill them, they're on your side. But you could take Charm and put on a non-lethal gun and go through and play like an RTS. Right now, that might be kind of hard. It could work, but it might be kind of hard because you're betting on RNG there if they're going to be charmed. I haven't tried it after the latest performance patch. Speaking of which, hopefully we get another patch soon, because we're coming up on, I think, 10 days from now, and I might get this out tomorrow. I'm hoping to get it out tonight. Who knows, but maybe tomorrow. 10 days from now, it'll have been a whole month since the last patch, and I feel like a greedy little child, even though we're weeks past Christmas, thinking, like, what's next? Like, I'm hoping for a mini patch, something small, throw in, they don't need to do a gun, they already did a gun. It would be interesting if they threw in a couple scrolls. What else could they just throw in? Just some stuff from the loot pile or something, and then next month a big patch. I would love another big patch. Well, technically, we haven't had a big patch. The storage patch was like a decent big patch, kind of, because it added a key component that they were clearly working on. They don't just come up with that overnight, like, hey, here's all these new assets to throw in there to increase your storage. No, there's testing and everything that goes around that. It was something that was going to be in the game at some point. They just hadn't got it in there yet. And then, obviously, performance was huge and awesome, and optimization is incredibly important for any video game, especially an indie game. It's one of the things that helps you stand out, is if it's well optimized, and it is now. Man, to say I'm not incredibly excited for Deep Woods. The morning I wake up, hopefully they announce when we get Deep Woods, because now I'm thinking like every time we've gotten an update, it was just out of nowhere. You get to your computer, it's 5:30, you see the update was out at noon, and you're like, what? I could have been playing with the performance patch all day and I didn't even know? Or the Christmas update? I would like to know. I would like to know beforehand, like, hey, next week, big patch coming. And maybe they do say it like, scatterly in the Discord. I didn't see it. Maybe they're just passingly say, hey, like, oh yeah, maybe expect next Wednesday or something. I don't know. I cannot wait for another area in Sulfur. I've played through all the ones so far for 200, almost 300 hours of gameplay. I need some more, please. And I want to see what their idea of a patch is, a new area update. Obviously, that comes with enemies, that comes with guns. But we're talking about this. I'm sorry. It's so hard for me not to get sidetracked. That's the ADHD in me. And if you've been here for any just molecule of time, that's not the right word. Any moment of time, you know that I'm scatterbrained and I'm a jabberjaw and I'm just gonna talk. And it's Sulfur, so I love Sulfur, so I can just keep talking about Sulfur, and who knows where it'll go. I just feel like I've taken like 100 drinks. I don't know what's wrong with me. So yeah, if they were to add difficulty options, say you press start before or at the church hub, easy, normal, hard, and then there's where you can get fun with it. You could do like extreme and then nightmare or hellish or something. Because like if you really want to punish the players and you really want to give them that challenge, I tell you, I would love something like that. That would be really cool to have that increased difficulty to really mess with people. I don't know. I think that would be awesome. I think that would be really cool, and this would be a good way to do that. Because what's the point in making a game exclusive? Like, I don't know how the Dark Souls community feels about no difficulty options. I don't know if they're like turn their nose up and say, oh, I don't tell you you have to play my game, so don't play it. But it looks cool, man. I kind of want to swing swords at bugs or whatever you do in that game. Like, I just want to do that. So, I don't know. I think that'd be cool, especially in a single-player game environment. It's a single-player game, so if you made it easy, none of your friends have to know you're playing on easy. It's got auto-aim, and the enemies don't hurt you. They give you flowers. Like, who cares? It's cool. I don't know. I think it is decently challenging right now, and if they decided to make it even harder, I'm not going anywhere. I'm still going to enjoy it, but there have been a couple of things, like some enemies seem like overtuned out of nowhere. Like normally they wouldn't be, almost like they've been storing their power to get revenge on me. I remember a few weeks ago, maybe 2 weeks ago, maybe a week ago, it's getting lower and lower. Maybe it was yesterday. I was playing a run in dungeon and a splitter moped stabby boy killed me, and I had like half health, really good armor, like 30 armor stats, half health, killed me in one go. And I was just taken aback. I was like, what? How's that even possible? I was like fully ready to take a hit, fall back, heal, and then go back in for it, but I didn't even get a chance because one half of my health bar with a single hit from any enemy, especially one that's not a boss, feels a little insane. It felt like I was definitely robbed. I don't know what's going on there. And I don't know, you think back to when you first started Sulfur and how much you raged, right? Because we all raged when you started, although some people will claim they didn't. Some people will say they're really good at this game. They never had any issues. That's awesome. You could have got some really good RNG to help avoid those issues. Usually my RNG is 2 water scrolls, 3 careless splitters, anything you can imagine that could be the worst possible outcome is usually what my RNG gives me. 40 Broncos a run. But I think I like where the difficulty's at. I hope they don't start changing mob density again. If anything, it could just be an adjustment period and then we're used to it. And then you're just aware that sewers is always going to be a claustrophobic mess filled with people that seem that they would cram any room to take away all the oxygen. It would be a health concern. That's fine. If that's just what sewers is now, that's fine. I'm not going to complain. I don't know. Maybe they plan to tweak difficulty over time. Hopefully we hear about it, because I didn't hear about anything in any of the patch notes, didn't mention mob density or anything, and maybe we're all huffing the same shit and we've confused ourselves and it's always been like that. That could be the case, but I wasn't the only one who noticed. I noticed by myself. I think I said it in the live stream. Somebody noticed. I've had people come to the Discord and say hey, no, I'm not going to call anybody out for not liking the state of Sulfur. And I don't know, it's definitely a nitpick. Because like I said, you could just run some more powerful guns and breeze through with no problem. But some people like to do fresh every time, too. And that is a cool thing about the roguelike. I'm hoping with endless mode, there's an option between a fresh run or bringing in whatever you want, because I'd love a fresh endless mode. That would be really, really fun. That's granted at your discretion. You could just go in there with the father's shirt and your dirk. That would probably be the way I do it. I can't wait for endless, man. It sucks we have to wait so long. I'd love to know when to expect the full timeline to be complete, but we'll know when they say it's in 1.0. So I don't know. As far as difficulty goes, I don't hate it. I think it's good where it is. I like it. It's an adjustment period, and I won't be doing any speed running for the time being, which sucks because I recorded a lot of stuff. I had an idea, and if I come back to it, I'll do the idea again. But I recorded a lot of stuff for that, and then I was just like, I got to the point where I was like, I'm not having fun with it. And if you're not having fun with something, you definitely need to stop. Doesn't mean the thing is bad, or you need to like be really negative about it. You just take a break from it, come back, and then see if you still feel the same way. The game itself, I love. It's just speed running. Once I get to sewers, I get really frustrated, and I don't want to do it anymore. I still like speed running, and I still love Sulfur, but I don't know. I don't know when I'll get back around to that video. Someday, hopefully. If not, it's fine. There's other important things. Speedrunning is such a microcosm to the Sulfur community. I mean, there's like 6 people that speedrun, and we love it. We love it to death, and I think it is a perfect game for speedrunning. But I don't know. I just want to talk about difficulty. I wanted to open up the floor for you guys to say what you're maybe having issues with difficulty, or the difficulty you really like, or you don't find it difficult at all. That's why we have a comment section, so we can all talk together. There's also the Discord. More people have been joining the Discord to talk about Sulfur, talk about the California wildfires, everything. We've just been bullshitting there. So, and we're not bullshitting about the California wildfires stuff. That sucks. That's awful. And it feels like it happens every year. It feels like the beginning of every year has been an absolute chaotic shitstorm since COVID happened. And it probably was before that, too. What is that? It's like we save all the bad stuff for the beginning of the year. And it's just like every beginning of the year, it's just like this like nightmarish hellscape that we decide to live in, the universe. Like, I don't get it. I didn't notice it till this year. I'm like, every single year, the January is the worst month of the year. And then, by the time we get to December, we're all fucking brainwashed into thinking, hey, next year will be great. But no, January's going to come around, and Frankenstein's going to exist, and he's going to be like 100 feet tall with, it's like indestructible metal armor, and he's just going to take over the world. That's just what's going to happen in 2026. I don't know why Frankenstein came to mind at all. But, yeah, so, comments. Talk about difficulty. Maybe there's something I didn't realize or didn't mention that you're shaking your fist at me for. Like, how could you overlook that? I mean, I barely talked about the dogs. To be fair, the dogs are something that people have always been either adamantly opposed for or tolerate. Nobody likes the dogs. I even tried, this is a little thing, I tried to do a challenge run where I was charming only the dogs, and I think I made it to like half of town before I got killed, and the hardest part was not charming the humans around them, and then I just gave up on that, and I went to a full charm run. This is when I was first starting to make Sulfur content, so yeah, I don't especially like the dogs. Even when I tried to befriend all of them, I still got my shit rocked, and I'm not a big fan of the dogs. I love killing them, so if that's what Sulfur's goal was, yes, I love killing them in game. I mean, I didn't like it at first. I was like, God, why do I got to kill the dogs? Why are the dogs so mean that I got to put them down over anything else? But, yeah, I don't know. We'll see. We'll see what you guys have to say, because it is hard to just have a conversation about difficulty, despite it being maybe not the main draw to the game. I think the main draw to Sulfur is the art style. I think that's the first thing that a lot of people are like, ooh, that looks cool. That was the first thing for me. I was like, that is a cool looking, cute little art style I could really get my head around. I'll check it out. I thought it was going to be some easy breezy, I'm done with this kind of game. 250, 60 hours later, I'm still loving it. But not because I love the art style, but I love it because that core gameplay loop of making guns which I've just made every kind of gun you could make, and going on silly challenge runs. And I've got a really big challenge run plan that I might stream, but I haven't found. I would have had time today now that I think about it, but it's a sleep deprivation, and I've been talking about doing the difficulty video for a long time, so I wanted to do it. And I could see why my mind was like pushing back, saying, don't do it today, because it's going to be hard, because it's hard to just talk about difficulty at end, with no end. And it's like, but yeah, I am a proponent. I would like to see difficulty options. I think that would be good. I don't know how Perfect Random would feel about that, but I think adding difficulty options would make the game a lot better, in my opinion. And I would probably mostly play on the hardest difficulty or normal, because I played for so long. I could do a video where you do a run in every single difficulty, and then you get to examine and test around. Now I'm getting excited for something that doesn't exist, so that's on me. I should be doing that, because this may never come to fruition. Not that it should or shouldn't. Let me know in the comments if you want to, what you would prefer they did for difficulty. Leave it alone or add difficulty options. Me personally, I don't think it would hurt. But if I keep going, I'm just going to keep reiterating the same things I've been saying over and over again. And now I need to take all this energy and go find a really big hill to run up and then tumble down and then hopefully not get too big of a... Wow, I'm not thinking of the word. What do you say when your baby's got a wound? A boo-boo. I don't want to get too big of a boo-boo.